Today, Julian Vane is homeless. I am sitting in his office. He thinks this was a mistake. It wasn't. I planned every second of his fall. 5 years. He treated me like trash. He spilled scotch on my shoes just to watch me scrub. He thought I was a ghost, a nobody with a mop. But he forgot one thing. The ground beneath this building has a secret. An ancient secret from 1842. I found the one document his family could never burn. In 60 seconds. Julian didn't just lose his job. He lost his entire identity. Watch closely. This is how I erased a billionaire from the system. The marble floor of Vanguard Heights is not just stone. It is a mirror. It reflects the life I used to have, and the life I am forced to live now. Every morning at 5 a.m. I arrive. The air is cold. It smells of expensive ozone and industrial bleach. My hands are raw from the chemicals. My back aches from a decade of carrying weight that does not belong to me. I move the mop in perfect circles. It is a rhythmic dance of a forgotten man. The lobby is quiet. Too quiet. It is the kind of silence that feels heavy, like the air before a storm. I can hear the hum of the high-speed elevators. They sound like a heartbeat. A digital heart for a building made of glass and ego. This building has 50 floors. It is a monument to corporate greed, and I am the man who keeps its foundation clean. I look at my reflection in the polished black granite. My face is thin. My eyes are tired, but they are sharp. Beneath the gray uniform of a janitor is the mind of a predator. They see a servant. I see an empire built on a lie. My father's name used to be on the bronze plaque in the foyer. Now it is buried under layers of Julian Vane's arrogance. I remember the day the signs changed. I remember the smell of my father's cigar. It was rich and earthy. Now all I smell is the stinging scent of lemon ammonia. It burns my throat. It reminds me that I am at the bottom, the absolute lowest point of the social ladder. The revolving doors move. The sound is a sharp hiss. Julian Vane enters the building. He does not walk. He marches. He moves like he owns the gravity in the room. His shoes are handcrafted Italian leather. They click against the marble with a sickening rhythm. Click, clack, click. Each step is a reminder of his power. He is wearing a charcoal suit that costs more than my annual salary. Beside him are 2 bodyguards. They look like statues made of muscle and dark fabric. Julian is holding a bottle. It is a rare vintage of Macallan Scotch. $5,000 for a single liter of fermented history. He holds it by the neck, carelessly, like it is a piece of trash. He stops right in front of my bucket. The dirty water ripples. I do not look up. I keep my head down. I am a ghost. A ghost does not speak to the living. But Julian wants a reaction. He craves it. He thrives on the feeling of being superior. I can smell his cologne. It is aggressive, overpowering. It smells like old money and zero empathy. He clears his throat. The sound is like sandpaper on glass. He looks at my wet mop. Then he looks at my worn shoes. He speaks. His voice is smooth, like silk soaked in poison. He asks me if I enjoy the view from down there. I do not answer. I continue to move the mop. My knuckles are white. I am holding the handle so hard the wood begins to groan. Julian laughs. It is a short, cold sound. He tells his guards that some people are born to lead, and others are born to clean up after them. He shifts his grip on the bottle. He moves his thumb over the gold seal. Then he does it. He lets go. The bottle falls in slow motion. Time seems to stretch. The amber liquid sloshes inside the glass. It hits the marble floor with a sound like a gunshot. Shards of glass explode in every direction. The expensive scotch splashes against my pants. It soaks into my skin. It smells like smoke and burnt sugar. The liquid spreads across the black stone like a golden blood stain. Julian sighs. He says he is so clumsy. He tells me to make sure I get every drop. He doesn't want the lobby to smell like a bar. I drop to my knees. The glass shards bite into my skin. I can feel the sting of the alcohol in my cuts. Julian stands over me. He is looking down at the top of my head. He is enjoying this. This is his ritual. He needs to remind himself that he is a god, and I am just the dirt beneath his feet. He turns to walk away. His guards follow him. Their laughter echoes in the massive space. It bounces off the glass walls. It fills the room with a hollow mockery. But Julian made a mistake, a fatal mistake. He thinks I am looking at the mess. He thinks I am crying. I am not. My eyes are locked on a single piece of broken glass. It is a large shard from the side of the bottle. And right there, perfectly preserved in the amber residue, is Julian's thumbprint. A clear, biometric map of his identity. He held the bottle without gloves. He pressed his thumb firmly against the glass when he let it go. I reach out with my gloved hand. I pick up the shard with the precision of a surgeon. I do not care about the pain in my knees. I do not care about the scotch ruining my uniform. I have what I need. This thumbprint is the key to the Archive Zero. It is the digital ghost of the man who ruined my family. Julian thinks he just humiliated a janitor. He has no idea. He just handed me the keys to his kingdom. I watch him enter the elevator. The doors slide shut with a soft chime. He is going to the top floor. He thinks he is safe in his ivory tower. He thinks he is untouchable. But the higher you climb, the harder you fall. I stand up slowly. My knees are bleeding. The smell of the scotch is making my head spin. But for the first time in 10 years, I am smiling. I put the glass shard into a small velvet pouch hidden inside my pocket. I pick up the mop. I begin to clean. I scrub the floor until it shines brighter than it did before. I want this floor to be perfect, because very soon, Julian Vane will be the one on his knees, and I will be the one holding the bottle. I finish the lobby. The sun is starting to rise. The light hits the glass and turns the building into a pillar of fire. I walk to the staff locker room. My heart is beating fast. I can feel the weight of the glass shard against my leg. It feels like a weapon, a silent, sharp weapon. I change out of my wet clothes. I wash the blood from my skin. I look at the clock. It is 6 a.m. The bank opens in 3 hours. But the Archive Zero does not follow bank hours. It lives in the shadows of the network. It waits for the right touch, the right code, the right identity. I leave the building through the service exit. The cold morning air hits my face. It feels like freedom. I walk toward the historical district. The old buildings are crumbling. They are shadows of a better time. My home is in the basement of one of these ruins. It is a place Julian wants to destroy. He wants to pave over my history with concrete and steel. He thinks he can erase the past. He thinks money can buy the truth. I enter my room. It is small. It is filled with books and old maps. In the corner, there is a computer that looks like a relic, but it is modified. It is powerful. I take the glass shard out of the pouch. I place it under a high-resolution scanner. The red light passes over the print, slowly, methodically, on the screen. The ridges and valleys of Julian's thumbprint appear. They look like a maze I've already solved. I begin the extraction process. The software hums. It is a sound of digital hunger. I am not just taking a picture. I am creating a biometric duplicate. I am becoming Julian Vane in the eyes of the machine. The process takes time. Every second feels like an hour. I think about my father. I think about the day they took the house. I think about the look in Julian's eyes when he dropped that. Bottle. The screen flashes green. Success. I now have the digital signature of the CEO of Vanguard Heights. I have the power to open doors that have been locked for 40 years. I have the power to see the secrets they thought were buried forever. I look at the map of the historical district on my wall. I trace the lines of the land patent, the sovereign grant. It is all connected. The floor I mopped this morning, the bottle Julian broke, the dirt beneath his feet. Everything belongs to the ghost of the man he tried to kill. The first step is complete. The humiliation is over. Now, The infiltration begins. I will go back to the building tomorrow. I will mop the floors. I will take the trash. I will be the perfect servant. But in the dark, in the wires, I will be the king. Julian Vane thinks he owns the world. He thinks he is a lion. But he is just a man with a thumbprint. And a very short memory. He forgot that a janitor sees everything. He forgot that a ghost never sleeps. And most importantly, he forgot that the ground he walks on has a voice. And it is about to scream. The basement door creaks. It is a high, sharp scream of rusted metal on metal. I descend into the belly of the city. The air down here is different. It is heavy. It smells of wet concrete and forgotten lives. My boots squish on the damp floor. This is my sanctuary. This is my cage. I reach for the pull string of the single light bulb. The light flickers. It hums with a dying energy. It casts long, distorted shadows against the brick walls. I am home. But home is a grave. My hands are still cold. The chill of the lobby marble is trapped in my bones. I reach into my pocket. I feel the velvet pouch. The glass shard is there. It is a small, sharp weight. It is the only thing that feels real in this room. I walk toward the small wooden table in the corner. It is warped from the moisture. It holds the only things I have left. A cracked mirror. A pile of old ledger books. And the photograph. I pick up the frame. The glass is gone. My fingers touch the yellowed paper. It is a photo of my father. William, he is standing in front of the Vanguard Heights entrance. But it wasn't called Vanguard then. It was the Heritage Trust. He is wearing a wool coat. He has a smile that looks like it could light up the entire street. His eyes are full of a dream of a bank that served the people, a bank built on honor, not interest rates. He was the founder. He laid the first stone. He signed the first charter. I remember the smell of his office. It smelled like cedar wood and expensive tobacco. It was a place of safety now. That same office belongs to Julian Vane, the man who pushed my father into the dark. They called it a suicide. They told the newspapers that the stress was too much. They said he couldn't handle the changing market. I remember the night it happened. The rain was drumming against the windows, just like it is now. I found him in the study. The air was thick with the scent of copper. He was slumped over his desk. His hand was inches away from a pen. They said he left a note. But I know my father's handwriting. The note was a forgery. It was a cold, calculated lie. Julian's father, Thomas Vane, stood at the funeral with a fake look of grief. He shook my hand. His palm was dry and cold, like a snake. Within a week, the Heritage Trust was gone. Vanguard Heights was born, and my family was erased. I set the photo back down. My chest feels tight. The anger is a dull, constant ache. I turn to the corner of the room. There is a heavy iron trunk. It is rusted shut. I have to use a crowbar to pry it open. The sound of the metal snapping is like a bone breaking. I reach inside. My fingers brush against bundles of old papers. They are damp. They smell of mold and ancient dust. These are the archives Julian thought were destroyed when the Vanes took over. They brought in industrial shredders. They wanted to turn our history into confetti. They spent 3 days destroying every record of the original land grant. I was 16 then. I worked in the mailroom. I watched the bins fill with white strips of paper. Julian was there. Even then, he was arrogant. He watched the machines with a smile. He thought he was winning, but machines are not perfect. And Julian was careless. I found a bend that had jammed. The blades had missed a small pile of documents at the very bottom. I hid them under my shirt. I ran through the rain. I hid them in this basement. I have spent 20 years waiting for the right moment to read them. 20 years of cleaning their floors while I waited for the truth to find me. I begin to sort through the papers. My heart is beating against my ribs. It is a slow, heavy thud. I find maps of the old district. I find letters from the governor. And then I see it. It is a single sheet of parchment. It is thick. It is yellow. The edges are charred from a fire that never finished its job. I lay it flat on the table. The light bulb flickers again. I hold my breath. My eyes scan the text. It is a land patent, dated 1842. It carries the seal of the sovereign grant. I read the words. My blood turns to ice. Then it turns to fire. The document describes the land under Vanguard Heights. It is not owned by the city. It is not owned by the bank. The Vanes have been paying property taxes to the wrong entity for 40 years. The patent contains a reversionary clause. It states that if the land is ever used for a purpose that violates the original sovereign trust, the title reverts instantly to the bloodline of the Grantee. My father was the Grantee. I look at the signature at the bottom. It is jagged, half destroyed by the shredder. But the most important part is intact. The clause about the identity lien. This is the secret Julian's father tried to burn. This is why they had to kill my father. He knew. He knew that the ground they were standing on was a legal landmine. I run my finger over the jagged edge of the paper. This is the one they missed. This is the piece of the puzzle that changes everything. Julian thinks he is a king because he has $1 billion in the vault. He doesn't realize that the vault is sitting on my land. He is a trespasser. He is a squatter in a $3,000 suit. The sound of the rain outside gets louder. It is a chaotic roar against the basement window. I look at the glass shard from the scotch bottle. Then I look at the land patent. The two pieces of the trap are ready. The biometric identity and the legal authority. I feel a cold sweat on my forehead. The weight of the moment is crushing. I am no longer just a janitor. I am a sovereign. I am the man who owns the air Julian breathes. He thinks he is safe because he has security guards and lawyers. He thinks he is safe because he has power. But power is a shadow, and the sun is finally starting to move. I pick up a pen. My hand is steady. I begin to write. I am mapping out the Archive 0. This is the deep storage system where the bank keeps its digital soul. To get inside, you need two things. You need the CEO's thumbprint, and you need a legal justification that the system cannot ignore. I have both. I think about the look on Julian's face when he dropped the bottle. He looked at me like I was an insect. He thought he was teaching me a lesson about my place in the world. He was right. He was showing me exactly where I belong. I belong in his chair. I belong at the head of that table. I look at the photo of my father one last time. I whisper his name into the dark. The silence of the basement is no longer heavy. It is expectant. It is the silence of a predator waiting for the perfect strike. The Vanes spent 40 years building a fortress of lies. I am going to tear it down in 40 minutes. I gather the papers. I put them into a waterproof case. I tuck the velvet pouch with the thumbprint shard inside. I pull the string on the light bulb. The room goes black, but I can see perfectly. I can see the path ahead. It is a path of fire and justice. I climb the stairs. Each step is a promise. A promise to the man in the photo. A promise to the boy in the mailroom. Julian Vane is sleeping in a penthouse right now. He is dreaming of more money. More power. He has no idea that the ghost is at the door. He has no idea that the floor is about to drop away. I reach the top of the stairs. I step out into the rain. The water washes the smell of the basement away. It feels clean. It feels like a beginning. I look toward the skyline. Vanguard Heights is glowing in the distance. It looks like a jewel. But jewels can be shattered. I start walking. My pace is rhythmical, like the mop on the marble. I am moving toward the end of their era. Tomorrow, the bank opens at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Julian will walk into the lobby. But tomorrow, the building will no longer be his. I touch the pouch in my pocket. I can feel the sharp edge of the glass. It is a reminder of the humiliation, a reminder of the debt, and I am here to collect. With interest, the wind picks up. It howls through the narrow streets. It sounds like 1,000 voices. The voices of everyone the Vanes have stepped on. The voices of the families they ruined. They are all watching. They are all waiting. And I will not fail them. The Archive Zero is waiting. The trigger is set. The only thing left is to pull it. I walk into the shadows of the next street. My heart is a cold stone. My mind is a razor. The dead legacy is no longer dead. It is breathing. It is hungry. And it is coming for everything they own. The digital world has a dark basement, a place where deleted things go to hide. Tonight, I am descending into the void. My small room is silent. The only sound is the high-pitched whine of an old computer processor. The air is cold. It smells of ozone and the damp earth from the walls. I sit in the dark. The blue light of the monitor washes over my face. It makes me look like a ghost. Perhaps that is what I have become. A ghost in the machine. A ghost looking for justice. I reach into my pocket. My fingers find the small velvet pouch. I can feel the sharp edge of the glass shard through the fabric. This is Julian's identity. This is the thumbprint he carelessly left on a $5,000 bottle of scotch. He thought he was throwing away trash. He didn't realize he was throwing away his empire. I take the shard out. I hold it up to the screen. The amber residue of the alcohol glows in the blue light. It looks like a piece of ancient jewelry. But it is a weapon. It's a silent. Digital weapon.I connect the biometric scanner to the terminal. It is a custom piece of hardware. I built it from parts I scavenged over 10 years. It is designed to read what the modern scanners miss. I place the glass shard on the glass lens of the scanner. My hand is shaking. Not from fear, but from the pure, cold adrenaline of the hunt. I press the scan button. A thin line of red light moves across the glass. It is slow, methodical. It traces the ridges of Julian's thumb. It maps the valleys of his arrogance. The computer hums. The sound is deep, rhythmic. It sounds like a heartbeat. The screen flashes. Processing. I wait. The silence in the room is heavy. I can hear the rain drumming against the single window high above. It is a chaotic, violent sound. But inside the computer, everything is order. Everything is logic. The red light finishes its pass. The screen turns green. Identity verified. Welcome, CEO Julian Vane. I am in. But I am not in the main system. The main system is a playground for children. It is where they track the daily trades. The credit card swipes. The small lies of the corporate world. I am going deeper. I am going to the Archive Zero. It is an air-gapped server. It is a digital relic from the 1970s, when the bank moved to the cloud. They left the original foundation behind. They thought it was obsolete. They thought no one would ever look for the roots of the tree once the fruit was sweet. I type in the bypass codes. My fingers move across the keys with a frantic grace. The sound is like hail on a tin roof. Clack, clack, clack. Each keystroke is a step closer to the truth. The screen flickers. The modern interface disappears. It is replaced by a black background with glowing green text. It looks like a terminal from another era. This is the Archive Zero. This is the memory of the bank before the Vanes corrupted it. The air in my room feels thinner. I can smell the heat coming off the motherboard. I navigate through the directories. I am not looking for money. Julian has billions. But billions are just numbers on a screen. Numbers can be changed. Numbers can be deleted. I am looking for something permanent. Something that exists in the physical world and the digital world simultaneously. I am looking for the sovereign grant of 1842. I enter the search parameters, 1842 land. Patent, the system groans. It is searching through millions of scanned documents. Documents that have not been opened in half a century. I can hear the hard drive clicking. It is a metallic, desperate sound. Like someone scratching at a door. I lean forward. My eyes are burning from the glare. The blue light is blinding. But I do not blink. A file appears. File Alpha 902. It is a massive data package. I click it. The download begins. The progress bar moves with the speed of a glacier. 1%, 2%. I look at the clock on the wall. It is 3 a.m. The city is asleep. Julian is asleep in his silk sheets. He is dreaming of skyscrapers and power. He has no idea that a janitor in a damp basement is currently pulling the rug out from under his entire life. The download reaches 50%. I can feel the sweat dripping down my neck. The room feels hot now. The smell of burning dust is everywhere. I look at the photograph of my father on the desk. His eyes seem to follow the progress bar. I wonder if he knew this day would come. I wonder if he left that document in the shredder on purpose. Or if it was just a miracle of timing, a miracle of justice. The progress bar hits 90%, 95, 99 success. The file opens. It is a high-resolution scan of a parchment document. The edges are frayed. The ink is faded. But the seal is unmistakable. It is the sovereign grant. I zoom in on the text. The words are written in a flowery, Victorian script, but the legal meaning is clear as day. I read the reversionary clause. My breath hitches in my throat. The land was granted to my ancestors under a perpetual trust. It states that the land must remain a place of public service. It must never be used for the purpose of private usury or the exploitation of the poor. If the trust is violated, the ownership reverts to the bloodline. Not through a court case, not through a lawyer, but through a private law trigger. Julian's bank is built on usury. It is built on the exploitation of the desperate. Every high-interest loan he signed was a violation of the grant. Every foreclosure he authorized was a nail in his own coffin. He thought he was playing by the rules of the city. He didn't realize he was governed by the rules of the land. I scrolled to the bottom of the document. There is a second page. It is a map. It shows the coordinates of the grant. It covers the entire block where Vanguard Heights stands. It covers the streets, the sidewalks, the air above it, and the ground below it. According to this document, the Vanes do not own the building. They are squatters. They have been operating an illegal enterprise on private land for 40 years. I feel a cold chill run down my spine. This is the silent trigger. It is not a bomb. It is a legal fact. A fact that the modern banking system has forgotten. But the Archive Zero remembers. And now I remember. I save the file to an encrypted drive. I disconnect the scanner. The screen goes black. The green text vanishes into the dark. I sit there for a long time. The only sound is my own breathing. It is slow, rhythmic. I look at the glass shard on the table. It looks so small, so insignificant. But it was the key. Julian's own body gave me the power to destroy him. He touched that bottle with the hand of a king, and I used it with the hand of an executioner. The rain has stopped. The silence outside is absolute. The city is waiting for the sun. I stand up, my joints pop, my back is stiff. I feel like an old man, but I feel powerful. I feel dangerous tomorrow. Julian will walk into that lobby. He will look at the floors I mopped. He will look at the glass I polished. He will see a servant, but I will see a man who is already bankrupt. I will see a man whose name is about to be deleted from the system. I have the patent. I have the thumbprint. I have the truth. The Archive Zero has given me the weapon. Now all I have to do is find the right moment to fire. I walk to the window. I look toward the skyline. The tower of Vanguard Heights is a dark shadow against the purple sky. It looks solid. It looks permanent. But I know better. I know it is a house of cards. And I just found the card at the bottom. The wind blows through the cracks in the window. It smells like wet pavement and the coming morning. I am tired, but I cannot sleep. The adrenaline is still humming in my veins. I have to prepare for the next step. The logic trap is set. The legal noose is ready. Julian Vane is about to learn that you can never truly bury the past, because the past is the ground you walk on. and the ground always remembers who it belongs to. I look at the clock. 5 a.m., it is time to go back. It is time to pick up the mop. It is time to play the ghost one more time. But this time, I am not cleaning the floor. I am measuring the room for his exit. I am the sovereign ghost, and the archive is open. Arrogance is a quiet poison. It does not scream. It whispers. It tells you that you are a god among insects. Julian Vane is currently drowning in that poison. He sits in his office on the 50th floor. The windows are floor-to-ceiling glass. They offer a view of the city that feels like a conquest. The air in here is filtered. It's cool. It smells of expensive lilies and the metallic temps of high-end electronics. Julian is not looking at the view. He is looking at a blueprint. It is a plan for a new world. His world. Vane Plaza. I am in the room. I am kneeling by the heavy mahogany credenza. I am polishing the brass handles. I am the invisible man. To Julian, I am just a part of the furniture, a tool that moves and cleans. He is talking on his speakerphone. His voice is loud. It is sharp. It smells of ego. He is talking to his head of acquisitions. They are discussing the East End, the historical district, the place where the brick is crumbling and the memories are thick. Julian calls it a slum. He calls it a stain on the skyline. I stop polishing for a second. My heart is a cold, hard knot in my chest. He is talking about my street. He is talking about the basement where my father's photo sits. He is talking about the ground that holds the sovereign grant. He has no idea. He thinks he is clearing away trash. He thinks he is a visionary. He tells the man on the phone to double the pressure. He wants the eviction notices served by Monday. He says the poor do not appreciate history. They only appreciate a check. He laughs. The sound is like dry leaves skittering across a grave. Julian stands up. He walks to the window. He looks down at the East End. From this height, my home looks like a toy. It looks insignificant. He swirls a glass of water. The ice clinks against the crystal. It is a sharp, brittle sound. He says he wants the demolition to be total. He wants no stone left standing. He wants to pave over the past with marble and steel. He wants to put his name on the ground in neon lights. I move to the wastebasket. I empty the shredded remains of his morning meetings. I move with the silence of a shadow. Julian turns around. He looks at me, not into my eyes, but at my uniform. He tells me to fetch him a pen, a specific pen, the gold-plated fountain pen his father gave him. It is sitting on a velvet tray on his desk. I walk over. My boots make no sound on the deep pile carpet. I pick up the pen. It is heavy. It is cold. It feels like a bone. I hand it to him. He does not say thank you. He takes it and dismisses me with a wave of his hand. I walk toward the door. But I do not leave. I stand in the shadows of the foyer. I watch him. This is the moment. This is the arrogant mistake that will end the Vane dynasty. Julian sits back down. He pulls a heavy legal document toward him. It is the final demolition authorization. It is the order to tear down the East End. The room is silent. The only sound is the hum of the air conditioning. It sounds like a long, continuous sigh. Julian unscrews the cap of the pen. The scent of black ink fills the air. It is a sharp, vinegary smell. He doesn't read the fine print. Why would he? He is the king. He believes the law is whatever he signs. He presses the nib of the pen to the paper. I watch the gold tip move. I watch the ink flow onto the page. He signs his name in a large, sweeping script. It is a signature of a man who thinks he is untouchable. But I know what that signature means. By signing this order, he is officially authorizing the destruction of a perpetual trust. He is violating the sovereign grant of 1842. In the eyes of the ancient law, this is not a development project. It is a crime. The moment the ink dries, the reversionary clause is triggered. Julian thinks he is claiming the land. In reality, he is forfeiting his right to exist in the corporate system. According to the patent, Any man who intentionally seeks to destroy the trust land for private gain loses all legal protection. His assets, his identity, his bank accounts, they all become liable to the sovereign owner. Julian caps the pen. He tosses it onto the desk. It makes a dull, thudding sound. He looks satisfied. He looks like a man who just won a war. He has no idea that he just walked into a minefield. He has no idea that the janitor he just ignored is the man who holds the detonator. He picks up the phone again. He tells his secretary to file the order with the city. He wants the bulldozers ready by dawn. I exit the office. I walk down the long, sterile hallway. The lights are bright. They are cold. I feel a strange sense of calm. The anger is gone. It has been replaced by a cold, mathematical certainty. Julian has made his move. He has played the card I needed him to play. He chose greed over history. He chose power over the truth. And now, the truth is going to crush him. I reach the service elevator. I step inside. The doors close with a metallic snap. I look at my reflection in the polished steel. My eyes are no longer tired. They are burning. I think about the people in the East End, the families who have lived there for generations, the shopkeepers, the old men who sit on the stoops. They are afraid. They think they are losing everything. They don't know that their janitor is their shield. The elevator descends. I feel the pressure in my ears. The world is shifting. The power is moving from the penthouse to the basement. Julian Vane thinks he is a lion. But he is just a man with a gold pen. And he just signed his own death warrant. He thinks the bulldozers are coming for us. He doesn't realize the system is coming for him. I reach the lobby. I walk past the spot where the scotch bottle broke. The marble is clean. It is perfect. But the memory is there. I look at the security guards. I look at the digital tickers on the wall. The stock price of Vanguard Heights is rising. The market loves the demolition plan. They see profit. They see growth. They are all walking into the same trap. I walk out into the street. The air is humid. It smells of rain and hot asphalt. I look up at the tower. It looks like a giant glass grave. I start walking toward the East End. My pace is steady. My heart is a drum. The signature is on the paper. The order is filed. The clock has started. Julian Vane is celebrating right now. He is probably opening another bottle of scotch. He is thinking about the millions he will make from Vane Plaza. He is thinking about the legacy he is building. He is wrong. His legacy ended the moment that ink touched the page. He didn't just authorize a demolition. He authorized his own erasure. I reach my street. The sun is setting behind the old brick buildings. They look beautiful in the orange light. They look strong. They have survived fires. They have survived wars. And they will survive Julian Vane. I go down into my basement. I pull the string on the light. Bulb dot. The room is filled with the hum of the Archive Zero. The green text is still scrolling on the screen. I sit down. I open the land patent. I look at the reversionary clause one more time. It is perfect. It is absolute. I begin to type. I am drafting the Cessation of Existence notice. It is a legal ghost. A document that bypasses the modern courts and goes straight to the sovereign court. Tomorrow morning. When the first bulldozer arrives, I will not be there as a protester. I will not be there with a sign. I will be there as the owner. I will be there with the document Julian signed. And I will show him exactly what it costs to destroy the past. The rain starts to fall. It is a soft, hushing sound. It washes the dust from the windows. It cools the city. Julian Vane is at the top. I am at the bottom, but the ground is moving. And the king is about to fall. The sun rises over the East End. It is a pale, sickly yellow. Today is the day the machines were supposed to win. The air is thick with the scent of diesel fumes and wet dust. It is a heavy, gritty smell that sticks to the back of your throat. The ground is already shaking. Giant yellow excavators are lined up like predators at the edge of the rubble. Their steel teeth are cold. They are ready to tear the heart out of these streets. They are ready to erase the history I have spent my life protecting. I stand at the corner of the block. I am not wearing the gray uniform. I am not carrying a mop. The janitor is dead. In his place stands a man Julian Vane would not recognize. I am wearing a bespoke charcoal suit. The wool is heavy. It is hand-stitched. It is the color of a storm cloud. I can feel the silk lining against my skin. It is cool and smooth. It is a second skin, a skin of power. My shoes are polished to a mirror finish. They do not click on the pavement. They strike it with authority. I look at the workers. They are wearing neon vests and hard hats. They are shouting over the roar of the engines. They smell of stale coffee and early morning sweat. They are just men doing a job. They do not know they are part of a crime. They do not know that every shovel of dirt they move is a violation of a sovereign trust. I walk toward the center of the site. My pace is slow. It is deliberate. I am not running. I am arriving. The foreman sees me. He is a large man with a face like weathered leather. He holds a clipboard like a shield. He looks at my suit. He looks at my eyes. He is confused. He thinks I am a city inspector, or perhaps a lawyer from the bank. He tells me to stop. He tells me this is a restricted zone. He says the demolition is starting in 5 minutes. He tells me I need to move back for my own safety. I do not move back. I step closer. I can smell the grease from the machines. I can feel the heat radiating from the engines. I look him directly in the eyes. I do not speak. I reach into my leather briefcase. The leather is soft. It smells of rich earth and old money. I pull out a single sheet of paper. It is not a standard legal form. It is a cessation of existence notice. It is printed on the same heavy parchment I found in the basement. It carries the seal of the sovereign grant. I hand it to him. My hand is steady. My pulse is a slow, rhythmic thud. The foreman takes the paper. He looks at the seal. He looks at the text, scoffs. He tells me he doesn't care about old papers. He says Julian Vane signed the order. He says the bank owns the block. He tells me to take my suit and my paper and get out before he calls the police. I tell him to look at his phone. He frowns. He reaches into his pocket. At that exact moment, a dozen other phones begin to chime. It is a chorus of digital alerts. It is a sharp, piercing sound that cuts through the roar of the machinery. The workers stop. They pull out their devices. I watch the foreman's face. The color drains from his skin. He looks like he has seen a ghost. The machines do not stop because of the police. They do not stop because of a protest. They stop because of the system. The Cessation of Existence notice has been uploaded to the Archive 0. It has triggered a global identity lien. In the eyes of the digital network, Vanguard Heights no longer exists. Julian Vane's corporate ID has been flagged as a legal nullity. The foreman stares at his screen. His eyes are wide. He tells me his payroll account is frozen. He says the company credit cards have been declined. He looks at the giant excavator behind him. The engine coughs. It sputters. Then it dies. One by one. The machines go silent. The sudden absence of noise is deafening. It is a heavy, absolute silence. The only sound left is the wind whistling through the empty buildings. The workers are murmuring. They are looking at each other with fear. They are looking at me. They see a man in a charcoal suit standing in the middle of a dead construction site. I look like a phantom, a legal ghost. I tell the foreman that the demolition is over. I tell him that this land has reverted to its true owner. I tell him that if he moves one more stone, he will be personally liable for the theft of sovereign property. He doesn't argue. He doesn't shout. He is a man who understands the language of money. And right now, the money has stopped talking. He looks at the cessation notice again. He sees the name at the bottom. My father's name, followed by my own. He looks at me with a new kind of respect. A respect born of terror. He realizes I am not a lawyer. I am the law. I turn away from him. I look up at the windows of the East End. People are leaning out. They are watching. They saw the machine stop. They saw the janitor stand his ground. There is no cheering, only a deep, collective sigh of relief. The neighborhood is still standing. The past is still alive, but I am not finished. This was just the front line. The real war is happening 50 floors up. Julian Vane is about to find out that his world is shrinking. He is about to find out that his black card is just a piece of plastic, and his name is just a collection of letters that no longer carry weight. I walk back to my car. A black sedan is waiting for me. I step inside. The interior smells of new leather and silence. I look at my watch. It is 9:15 a.m. The bank is open. The market is active. But the Vane empire is a hollow shell. I tell the driver to take me to the lobby of Vanguard Heights. I want to be there when Julian tries to buy his morning coffee. I want to see the moment he realizes his thumbprint is no longer a key, but a lock. I want to see him realize that he didn't just lose a construction site. He lost his life. The car moves smoothly through the streets. I look out the window at the city. It looks the same. People are walking to work. Taxis are honking. The world is moving. But for Julian Vane, the clock has stopped. He is a man trapped in a moment of his own making. He is a man who signed a paper without reading the truth. I feel a cold, sharp satisfaction. It is not joy. It is justice. It is the feeling of a debt being paid in full. The cessation of existence is not a punishment. It is a correction. I am correcting 40 years of lies. I am restoring the foundation. We approach the tower. It looks different today. It doesn't look like a monument. It looks like a target. I adjust my cufflinks. I straighten my tie. I am ready for the final confrontation. I am ready to walk into that lobby and show them who really owns the floor. The car stops. The driver opens the door. I step out onto the marble. The same marble I mopped yesterday. It feels different under my shoes. It feels solid. It feels like mine. I look at the security guards. They don't recognize me in the suit. They see a high-level executive. They see a man of consequence. They open the door for me. I walk inside. The smell of the lobby is the same. Ozone and expensive perfume. But the hum of the building is gone. The digital tickers are frozen. The screens are showing an error message. Identity not found. The panic is starting to spread. I see people gathered at the reception desk. I see the confusion in their eyes. Then I see him. Julian Vane is stepping out of his private elevator. He looks angry. He is shouting at his assistant. He is holding his phone. He is trying to make a call. But the call won't go through. He looks at the security guards. He tells them to fix the screens. He tells them to call the IT department. He doesn't understand yet. He turns and looks toward the entrance. He sees me. He stops. He recognizes my face. But he cannot process the suit. He cannot process the way I am standing. He looks at me like I am a hallucination. He opens his mouth to speak, but no sound comes out. I walk toward him. Each step is a hammer blow. Each step is a year of my life returned. I stop 2 feet away from him. I can smell his fear. It smells like sour scotch and expensive cologne. I look him in the eye. I tell him that his lease on this life has expired. Julian Vane is laughing. The sound is a jagged, high-pitched scrape against the silence of the lobby. It is the sound of a man who thinks he is watching a comedy. He looks at my charcoal suit. He looks at my polished shoes. He looks at the way I stand. He calls me a clown. He calls me a janitor in a costume. He tells the security guards not to touch me yet. He wants to enjoy this. He wants to see how far this delusion goes. He pulls out his phone. His fingers are trembling, but he thinks it is from amusement. It is not. It is the first sign of a nervous system realizing the predator is in the room. He calls his elite legal team the vultures. That is what the city calls them. They arrive in less than 10 minutes. For men in identical Navy suits. They carry leather briefcases that smell of cold. It's hard cash. They walk into the lobby with a synchronized arrogance. They look at the identity not found messages on the screens. They scoff. They tell Julian it is a glitch, a minor hack. They look at me. Their eyes are cold. They are professional sharks. They tell me that impersonating a legal authority is a felony. They tell me that my cessation of existence notice is a piece of fan fiction. They are loud. They are confident. They fill the lobby with the smell of expensive hair gel and condescension. Julian stands behind them. He is regaining his strength. He leans against the marble pillar. He tells them to destroy me. He wants me in handcuffs by noon. He wants the East End leveled by sunset. The lead lawyer, a man named Marcus, steps toward me. He reaches for the document in my hand. He says he will take that as evidence for the police. I do not give it to him. I do not move. I look past them. Toward the revolving doors. The doors move slowly. There is no hiss of air. There is only the sound of a cane, a heavy, silver-tipped cane striking the marble. Click, thud, click, thud. The sound is ancient. It is rhythmic. It carries a weight that the lawyer's shoes do not. An old man enters the lobby. He is 90 years old. His skin is like thin, yellowed parchment. He is wearing a coat that looks like it belongs in a museum. It is thick. Dark wool. It smells of beeswax, old books, and time itself. His name is Elias Thorne. The lobby goes silent. The vultures stop talking. Marcus, the lead lawyer, drops his briefcase. The sound of the leather hitting the floor is like a gunshot. He knows this man. Every lawyer in the Tier 1 circle knows this man, but they have only seen him in history books or in the shadows of royal court proceedings. Elias Thorne does not represent corporations. He does not represent banks. He only represents bloodlines. He only represents the people who owned the world before the world was for sale. Elias walks toward us. He does not look at Julian. He does not look at the lawyers. He looks only at me. He stops at my side. He bows his head slightly, a gesture of respect that freezes Julian's blood. Elias speaks. His voice is a low, dusty rasp. It sounds like the wind moving through a crypt. He tells the room that the air they are breathing is currently being stolen. Julian finds his voice. It is shaky. It is weak. He asks who this old man is. He asks what is happening. Elias turns his head slowly. His eyes are milky with age, but they are sharp. They are piercing. He tells Julian that he is the executor of the sovereign trust. He says he is here to oversee the reversion of the property. Marcus tries to intervene. He tries to use his legal jargon. He talks about city zoning. He talks about municipal deeds. He talks about the Supreme Court. Elias Thorne does not interrupt. He waits for the silence to return. Then he reaches into his coat. He pulls out a small iron key. He holds it up. He tells them that the land beneath Vanguard Heights was never owned by the city. It was never part of the municipal charter. He says that in 1842, this block was designated as a sovereign grant, a gift of the Crown to the Heritage Trust. He explains that a sovereign grant is not a deed. It is a piece of the earth that exists outside of the government. It is private law. It is absolute. Julian's face is gray. He is staring at the iron key. Elias continues. He says that the city has been collecting taxes on this land illegally for 40 years. He says that the Vane family has been building on a foundation of air. He points his cane at the floor, the marble he is standing on. He says that because the trust was violated, the building and everything inside it have reverted to the bloodline. He looks at Julian's lawyers. He tells them that their firm is no longer recognized on this property. He says their contracts are void. He says their presence is a trespass. He tells them to leave now, or they will be held in sovereign contempt, a law that has no appeal, a law that has no judge. Only the owner, the lawyers do not argue. They do not look at Julian. They pick up their bags. They move toward the exit. They move fast. They look like rats fleeing a sinking ship. They know the game is over. You can fight a bank. You can fight a government. But you cannot fight a sovereign grant. It is the legal equivalent of a black hole. It swallows everything. Julian is alone now. He is standing in his lobby, but it is no longer his. He looks at me. He sees the janitor, but he also sees the man in the suit. He sees the man who mopped his floors while planning his destruction. He tries to speak. He tries to say it is a mistake. He says he has money. He says he will pay whatever it takes. Elias Thorne laughs. It is a dry, paper-thin sound. He tells Julian that money is a fiction. He says that on this land, only blood matters. And Julian's blood is thin. It is new. It carries no weight. He tells Julian that the bank accounts tied to this address have been sequestered. He says the digital identity of the Vane Corporation has been erased from the sovereign ledger. I step forward. I can smell the fear coming off Julian in waves. It is a sour, metallic scent. I tell him that I am not interested in his money. I am interested in the debt. I tell him that every floor I mopped, every insult I took, every drop of scotch he spilled, it all had a price. And the price is his existence. I hold out the Cessation of Existence notice. I tell him that he has 10 minutes to clear his personal items from the top floor. After that, the elevators will be locked. The power will be cut. The building will return to the shadows. Julian looks at the elevator. He looks at the identity not found screen. He realizes he cannot even push the button. He is locked out of his own life. He falls to his knees. The same way I fell to my knees when he broke that bottle. The glass shards of his empire are all around him. He is crying. It is a pathetic, silent sob. He is begging, but there is no one left to listen. The security guards have walked away. The receptionists are packing their bags. The building is dying. I look at Elias Thorne. The old man nods. He says the foundation is secure. He says the past has returned. I look at the marble floor. It looks brighter. It looks cleaner. The smell of the bleach is gone. It is replaced by the smell of old paper and wood, the smell of my father's dream. But there is one more thing. One more secret hidden in the Archive 0. A secret that Julian's father died to protect. A secret that is currently being downloaded to my phone. I look at Julian. He is still on the floor. I tell him that the demolition is not the only crime the Vanes committed. I tell him that I found the file on his father's suicide. I tell him that the Archive 0 recorded everything, even the things they thought they deleted 40 years ago. Julian looks up. His eyes are wide. His breath is shallow. He knows what I am talking about. He knows that the fall of the bank is just the beginning. He knows that the sovereign ghost is not just here for the land. He is here for blood. The light in the lobby flickers. The hum of the building changes. It becomes a deep, low vibration. The digital world is disconnecting. The physical world is taking over. I turn my back on Julian. I walk toward the elevators with Elias. Thorne, the silver-tipped cane, clicks on the floor. The doors of the private elevator slide open. For the first time in my life, I do not enter with a mop. I enter as the owner. I push the button for the top floor. The doors close. I can see Julian through the glass. He is a small, broken figure in a vast, empty lobby. The elevator begins to rise. I feel the pressure in my chest. I feel the weight of the moment. We are going to the top. We are going to see the secrets of the Vane family. We are going to see the truth. But as the elevator passes the 20th floor, the screen inside the car flashes red. A message appears. A message that was not part of the plan. A message from the deep core of the archive. It says, Project Sovereign. Phase 2. Initializing. I look at Elias. He is not surprised. He is smiling. Money is a ghost that only appears when you believe in it. Julian Vane has spent his entire life believing he was a god because of the numbers on a screen. But today, the screen is dark. The board members are sitting around the mahogany table. They are the architects of misery, men who have traded in human lives for decades. The room is cold. The air conditioning is humming at a frequency that makes my teeth ache. It smells of expensive leather and the metallic scent of filtered air. Julian is at the head of the table. He is wearing a smirk that does not reach his eyes. He thinks he is about to announce the greatest real estate deal in a century. He thinks he is untouchable. He has no idea that the noose is already around his neck, and I am the one holding the rope. He starts to speak. His voice is loud. It is arrogant. He tells the board about Vane Plaza. He calls it the crown jewel of the East End. He says the demolition is proceeding ahead of schedule. He shows them the digital mock-ups on the giant screens. Buildings of glass and light. Monuments to his ego. He tells them he used the bank's core collateral to secure the funding. He says it was a bold move, a visionary move. He says he bet the house and won. The board members nod. They are like vultures waiting for a carcass. They only care about the dividends. They don't care about the history Julian is tearing down. They don't care about the people I mopped for. They only care about the weight of their own pockets. But then the silence of the room is broken, not by a voice, but by a sound. It is a long, continuous beep from the main terminal at the end of the table. The light on the terminal is flashing red. It is a deep, violent red, the color of a warning. Julian frowns. He tells his assistant to check the connection. He thinks it is a technical glitch. He thinks the system is just lagging. He is wrong. The system is not lagging. The system is reacting. The cessation of existence. Notice I filed this morning did more than stop the bulldozers. It traveled through the veins of the digital world. It reached the central bank. It triggered the sovereign dispute protocol. This is a law that exists in the shadows of the banking system. It is a protocol designed for national emergencies. When the core collateral of a Tier 1 bank is under a sovereign grant dispute, the system does not wait for a court order. It does not wait for a lawyer to argue. It executes a total asset freeze. Julian's smile begins to fade. He sees the look on the chairman's face. The chairman is an old man named Sterling. He has eyes like flint. He is looking at his own tablet. He tells Julian that the bank's liquidity rating has just dropped to 0. He says the credit default swaps are triggering. He asks Julian what he did with the land titles. Julian stammers. He says the titles are clear. He says he signed them himself. He reaches for his phone. He wants to call his private banker. He wants to yell at someone. But his phone is dead. It shows a black screen with a single line of text. Identity revoked. I am standing by the door. I am the invisible man again. But this time, I am not polishing the wood. I am watching the collapse. I can smell the sour sweat breaking out on Julian's forehead. It is a sharp, acrid smell. The smell of a predator realizing the cage is locked. Julian decides to play one last card. He wants to show the board he is still in control. He tells the waiter to bring in the lunch. He wants the most expensive spread the city can offer. Lobster, caviar, gold leaf dessert. He says it is a celebration of the new era. He wants to drown the panic in luxury. The food arrives on silver carts. The smell of the butter and sea salt fills the room. It is a disgusting contrast to the cold fear in the air. The bill is presented. It is $8,000. Julian reaches into his coat. He pulls out his black card, the Centurion. It is made of titanium. It is heavy. It feels like power. He tosses it onto the silver tray. He tells the waiter to take his time. He tells the board that a few technical glitches won't stop the Vane family. He is trying to be the lion, but his voice is cracking. The waiter takes the card to the machine at the sideboard. The room is so quiet I can hear the hum of the hard drives in the walls. The waiter slides the card. The machine makes a sound, a short, sharp chirp. The waiter frowns. He tries again. He tries the chip. He tries the swipe. He tries to enter the numbers manually. The machine screams. It is a high-pitched digital rejection. The screen on the card reader flashes a message in bright white letters. Declined, contact sovereign authority. The silence that follows is absolute. The board members are staring at the card. They are staring at the waiter. Then they turn their heads. Like a pack of wolves. They look at Julian. The chairman stands up. He doesn't look like a vulture anymore. He looks like an executioner. He tells Julian that the bank's core assets have been sequestered by the central bank. He says that every dollar Julian pledged as collateral has been locked in a sovereign escrow. Julian stands up so fast. His chair flips over. The sound of the wood hitting the floor is like a thunderclap. He screams that it is impossible. He says he owns the bank. He says he is the bank. He grabs the card from the waiter. He tries to shove it into his own laptop. But the laptop is dead. The entire building is starting to lose power. The lights flicker. They dim to a pale ghostly blue. The financial noose is tightening because Julian used the bank's core wealth to fund his illegal project. The dispute over the land has contaminated the entire institution. In the world of high finance, perception is reality, and the perception is that Julian Vane is a fraud. The central bank has cut the oxygen. The credit lines are dead. The payroll is frozen. The Vane family is officially bankrupt. Not in a month. Not in a week. Right now, I step out from the shadows. I walk toward the table. The board members look at me. They see the charcoal suit. They see the confidence. They don't see the janitor. They see the man who holds the keys. I look at Julian. He is breathing hard. His chest is heaving. He looks like a man who is drowning on dry land. I tell the room that the lunch is on me. I pull out a simple plastic card. It is not titanium. It doesn't have a logo. It is a sovereign access card. It is tied to the Archive 0. I hand it to the waiter. He slides it. The machine purrs. Transaction approved. The chairman looks at me. He asks who I am. He asks what I want with his bank. I tell him that the bank is no longer his. I tell him that the core collateral Julian pledged was not his to give. I tell him that the ground beneath this building belongs to the sovereign trust, and as the sole heir of that trust, I have exercised the reversionary clause. I tell them that I didn't just freeze Julian's assets. I inherited them. Julian lunges at me. He is a broken man driven by a last desperate rage. His bodyguards move to stop him. But they don't move for Julian. They move for me. They stand in his way. They know where the power is. They know who pays the bills now. Julian stops. He looks at his own men. He realizes that his money was the only thing making him a man. Without it, he is just a bully in an expensive suit. I look at the windows. The sun is starting to set. The sky is a deep, bruised purple. The city is starting to glow. But Vanguard Heights is dark. The digital tickers on the outside of the building have stopped. The name Vane is no longer in lights. It is just a shadow against the sky. The noose is shut. The board is silent. Julian Vane is standing in a room full of people who used to fear him. Now they only pity him. And pity is the one thing Julian cannot survive. But as I turn to leave, the chairman speaks. He says that the bank still has debts. He says that the sovereign grant doesn't cover the international liabilities. He asks what I plan to do about the shadow ledger. I stop. I look back at him. I smile. I tell him that the shadow ledger is the reason I came back. Julian is standing in a void. He does not know it yet, but his name has already been deleted. The boardroom has become a cold, silent vacuum. The air is thin. It smells of ozone and the metallic temps of a dying electrical grid. The lights above the mahogany table flicker once, twice. Then they settle into a dim, ghostly blue glow. This is not a glitch in the building. It is a glitch in Julian's reality. He is looking at me. His eyes are wide. They are bloodshot. He is searching for a foothold in a world that is liquid. He is a man who has always used the law as a shield. Now he is realizing the shield is turned into a blade. I walk toward the head of the table. My shoes make no sound on the deep carpet. I am a shadow moving through a graveyard of ambition. The board members are frozen. They look like wax figures in a museum of greed. I reach into my charcoal jacket. I pull out the original land patent from 1842. I do not place it on the table. I hold it up. The paper is yellow. It is brittle. It looks like it could turn to dust at any moment. But this paper is heavier than the entire skyscraper. This paper is the logic trap. I look at Julian. I tell him that he made a mistake. A fatal mistake. He thought this was about property. He thought he could just pay a fine or settle a dispute. He thought the land was just dirt. I tell him to listen to the words written by a king's hand. I read the clause. My voice is low. It is steady. It carries the weight of a century of waiting. The identity lien. Julian frowns. He tries to laugh. It is a dry, hollow sound. He asks what that means. He asks if I think I am in a movie. He tells the board that this is just legal theater. But the chairman, old man Sterling, is not laughing. He is staring at the parchment. He knows. He knows that in the 19th century, laws were not written for corporations. They were written for men. And the punishment for violating a sovereign trust was not a check. It was erasure. I explain the trap. The 1842 patent contains a specific provision. It states that anyone who builds on this land without the express consent of the sovereign heir commits an act of high trespass. But it goes deeper. Because the land is a sovereign grant. It exists outside the modern legal system. By placing the bank's headquarters on this soil, Julian has effectively merged his corporate identity with the land. I tell him the price of his arrogance. According to the lien, any person or entity that illegally occupies this ground forfeits their legal persona to the patent holder. This is the logic trap. Julian didn't just lose the land. He lost himself. I look at the giant screen behind him. I pull out a small, encrypted device. I plug it into the table's port. The screen flashes white. Then a list of data appears. It is a list of Julian's assets. His bank accounts, his social security number, his birth certificate, his professional licenses. All of them are highlighted in red. One by one, they begin to vanish. The text is replaced by a single word. Null? Julian screams. He lunges for the screen. He tries to grab the data with his bare hands. He looks like a madman. He is fighting a ghost. I tell him that in the eyes of the digital world, he is no longer Julian Vane. He is an unauthorized occupant. He has no legal right to hold a bank account. He has no legal right to sign a contract. He has no legal right to his own name. He has been erased from the system. The chairman stands up. He looks at Julian with a cold, clinical detachment. He tells the security guards to escort the unauthorized individual from the room. Julian freezes. He looks at his own men, the men he paid millions to protect him. They do not move to help him. They look at me. I am the one who holds the patent. I am the one who holds the lien. In the eyes of the law, I am now the owner of the Vane Corporation. I am the owner of Julian's identity. Julian turns to me. He is shaking. He is crying. He asks me how I can do this. He asks if I have any mercy. I look at him. I think about the mop in the lobby. I think about the glass shards in my knees. I think about my father's cold study. I tell him that mercy is for the living. And Julian Vane died the moment he signed that demolition order. He is technically a ghost in his own life. He is wearing a suit he no longer owns. He is wearing shoes that belong to the trust. Even the air he is breathing is sovereign property. He has become a zero, a vacuum, a shadow. I tell him that he can leave, or he can stay and be arrested for trespassing on his own history. He looks around the room. He sees the faces of his peers. They are already moving on. They are already looking at me. They are sharks, and they have found a new king. Julian realizes that he has no allies. He has no friends. He only had a name. And now, that name is mine. I tell the guards to take him to the service elevator, the one I used for 10 years. I tell them to give him a gray jumpsuit, a janitor's uniform. I tell him that if he wants to stay in this building, he can earn his keep. He can clean the floors he used to walk on. He can scrub the marble until it reflects the man he used to be. Julian collapses. He is a pile of expensive fabric on the floor. He is a man who reached for the sun and found only the cold, dark earth. He is being dragged away. His heels are scraping against the carpet. It is a soft, hushing sound. It is the sound of a life being deleted. The room is silent again. The board members are waiting. They are waiting for me to speak. They are waiting for their orders. I walk to Julian's chair. It's a big leather chair at the head of the table. I do not sit in it. I look at it. It looks small. It looks insignificant. I look at the chairman. I tell him that the erasure is complete, but the reconstruction is just beginning. I tell him that Vanguard Heights is no longer a bank. It is a museum of the truth. I tell him that every cent in the sovereign escrow will be returned to the people. Julian robbed. The chairman asks what will happen to the board. I look him in the eye. I can smell his fear. It smells like old paper and stale coffee. I tell him that their identities are also on the list. I tell him that the logic trap has a very long reach. I tell them all to go home. I tell them to look at their bank accounts. I tell them to see if their names still work. They scramble out of the room. They are tripping over each other. They are desperate to find a world that still recognizes them. I am left alone in the boardroom. The blue light of the screens is the only thing illuminating the dark. I walk to the window. I look down at the city. The East End is still there. The old brick buildings are glowing in the twilight. They look strong. They look permanent. The machines are gone. The threat is over. The past has won. I feel a cold sweat on my palms. The weight of the world is on my shoulders now. I am no longer the ghost in the machine. I am the machine. I have the power Julian used to have. But I have something he never did. I have a memory. I reach into my pocket. I pull out the photo of my father. I look at his smile. I tell him that it is done. The Heritage Trust is back. The veins are gone. The floor is clean. But as I look at the photo, I see something I didn't notice before. There is a small, handwritten note on the back. It is my father's script. It says, "The patent is the beginning. The blood is the end. Beware the shadow ledger." I look at the screen. The identity not found messages are still there. But beneath them, a new window is opening. A hidden directory that Julian didn't even know existed. A directory labeled Project Sovereign. Phase 3. I can feel my heart hammering in my chest. The logic trap was more than just a revenge plot. It was a trigger for something much bigger. Something my father was hiding. Something that the royal bloodlines have been waiting for. The sound of the rain returns. It is a heavy, violent roar against the glass. The building groans. It sounds like a living thing. I realize that I am not just the owner of a bank. I am the guardian of a secret that could break the world. I look at the silver-tipped cane leaning against the table. Elias Thorne is gone, but his presence is still here. I realize that the 90-year-old lawyer wasn't just my ally. He was my jailer. The elevator chimes. The doors slide open. A group of men in black coats enter the room. They do not look like lawyers. They do not look like bankers. They look like soldiers. They stop 10 feet away from me. They bow. One of them speaks. His voice is cold. It is clinical. He says that the sovereign heir is required for the final initialization. I look at the screen. I look at the photo. I look at the dark city below. The erasure was the easy part. Now I have to find out what I have truly inherited. The boardroom is no longer a sanctuary of power. It is a slaughterhouse. The silence is not peaceful. It is predatory. Julian Vane is a stain on the silk chair. He sits at the head of a table that no longer recognizes him. The air is freezing. The climate control system is failing. It smells of stale ozone and the cold. Sharp scent of iron. The board of directors is a circle of wolves. They do not speak with words. They communicate in the language of survival. Their eyes move from Julian to me, to the digital void on the screens behind us. They are realizing the truth. Loyalty has no value in a sovereign collapse. I stand in the corner. My charcoal suit is the color of an ending. I am the only one in the room who is truly breathing. The rest are holding their breath, waiting for the hammer to fall. Julian looks at Marcus. He looks at Sterling. He is searching for a friend. He finds only mirrors of his own greed. He tries to adjust his tie. His fingers are clumsy. His hands are wet with a cold sweat. It is the smell of a man who knows the trap has shut. The chairman Sterling breaks the silence. His voice is a low, rhythmic rasp. It sounds like dry earth shifting. He says the bank must survive. He says the institution is bigger than any one man. He looks at Julian, not with anger, but with the cold, clinical detachment of a surgeon removing a tumor. He says that the sovereign trust has presented an ultimatum. To save the core assets, the Vane name must be removed completely, irrevocably. Julian tries to stand. His legs are weak. He asks what that means. He asks if they are firing him. Sterling does not answer him directly. He looks at the terminal on the table. He says that they are not firing him. They are deleting him. He explains the logic trap one last time. Because of the identity lien, Julian's existence is now a liability to the ledger. If his name remains on the masthead, the bank remains a legal nullity. To settle the debt with the sovereign heir, they must perform a corporate exorcism. I walk toward the table. I place the iron key from Elias Thorne on the mahogany surface. It makes a heavy, metallic clink. The sound echoes in the room. I tell the board that the price of their survival is Julian's history. I tell them that they must vote. Not to remove a CEO, but to erase a legacy. Every document, every digital record, every bronze plaque with the name Vane. It must be liquidated to satisfy the trust. The vote is silent. There are no hands raised, only the pressing of buttons on glass tablets. The screen behind Julian flashes. It shows a list of every year he spent at the bank. 1985, 1992, 2010. The years begin to scroll, faster and faster. Beside each year, a progress bar appears. It is the color of a dying sun, one by one. The years turn to gray. Julian watches the screen. He is seeing his life's work turned into code and then into nothing. He screams. It is a thin, pathetic sound. He tells them they can't do this. He says he built this tower. He says he is the heart of the city. Marcus, the lawyer who once worshipped him, does not even look up from his tablet. He is already drafting the press release, a release that will claim Julian Vane never existed. The smell in the room changes. It becomes the sharp, burning scent of a hard drive overheating. The digital ticker outside the building flickers. It is visible through the floor-to-ceiling glass. The letters of his name are falling away. Vane. They vanish into the dark sky. The city is watching a god turn into a ghost. Julian grabs the edge of the table. He is shaking so hard the water in the crystal glasses ripples. He looks at me. He asks me why I am doing this. I do not answer him. I look at the guards at the door. These are the same men Julian hired. The men he commanded to drop scotch on the floor so I could clean it. They are standing perfectly still. Their faces are masks of stone. They smell of leather and gunpowder. They are not waiting for Julian's orders anymore. They are waiting for mine. The screen reaches the current year. 2026. The bar hits 100%. A final message appears in bold, white letters. Erasure complete. Identity lien satisfied. The lights in the room turn from blue to a warm, natural amber. The building is coming back to life. But it is a different life. The digital systems have reset. The Archive Zero has integrated with the bank's core. The Vane Corporation is dead. The Heritage Trust is reborn. And Julian is a man without a shadow. Sterling stands up. He tells Julian that he is a trespasser. He tells him that he has no legal standing to be in this room. He tells him that his clothes, his watch, his very memories of this office are now sovereign property. He gestures to the guards. He tells them to remove the unauthorized individual from the premises. Julian tries to fight. He tries to swing a punch at the nearest guard. A man named Harris. Harris was Julian's personal favorite. He used to open the car door for him every morning. Harris does not flinch. He catches Julian's wrist with a grip of iron. He twists Julian's arm behind his back. The sound of Julian's shoulder joint popping is a sickening. Wet crunch. Julian gasps. The air leaves his lungs in a ragged whistle. The second guard moves in. They grab Julian by the collar of his charcoal suit. The suit, he thought, made him a king. They drag him toward the service elevator. His feet are scuffing against the carpet. The same carpet I vacuumed every night for a decade. He is begging them. He is calling them by their first names. He is promising them millions. They do not speak. They do not care. To them, he is just a piece of trash that needs to be taken to the curb. I follow them to the elevator. The doors slide open. The interior is small. It is industrial. It smells of grease and heavy cables. The guards shove Julian inside. He hits the back wall with a dull thud. He looks up at me. His face is a mask of tears and snot. He looks like a child. A broken, cruel child. I reach into my briefcase. I pull out a bundle of gray fabric. It is a janitor's uniform. It is worn. It is stained with the lemon ammonia he made me use. I toss it onto his lap. I tell him that he will need this. I tell him that the only way he can stay in the city is if he cleans up the mess he made. I tell him that the world doesn't need a CEO, but it always needs a man with a mop. The elevator doors begin to close. They are slow, rhythmic. They cut off the view of the boardroom. They cut off the view of the lights. Julian is alone in the small metal box. He is descending. He is going back to the basement. He is going back to the dark. I turn back to the board members. They are all standing now. They are waiting for me to take the chair. They are ready to serve a new master. I look at the mahogany table. I look at the iron key. I can feel the weight of the building in my chest. It is a heavy, solid feeling, but it is not a burden. It is a foundation. Sterling asks me what the first order of business is. I walk to the window. I look down at the street. I can see the security guards pushing Julian out through the service exit. He is standing on the sidewalk in the rain. He is holding the gray uniform to his chest. He looks small. He looks invisible. Passersby are walking past him. They do not see the man who owned the bank. They only see a homeless man in a ruined suit. I tell Sterling to open the shadow ledger. The room goes cold again. The board members exchange looks of pure terror. They thought the erasure was the end. They thought their secrets were safe in the digital void. They don't realize that the Archive Zero doesn't just delete, it remembers. It archives the sins of the fathers. And the sins of the sons. I tell them that the debt is not settled yet. I tell them that the Vane family was just the tip of the spear. I tell them that I want to know about the Matriarch's will. The chairman's hand begins to shake. He reaches for his water glass. He misses. The glass falls. It shatters on the floor. The sound of the glass breaking is sharp. It is final. I look at the shards on the floor. I look at the mess. I do not call a janitor. I look at the board members. I tell them to get on their knees. The silence that follows is the most dangerous sound I have ever heard. The air at the top is different. It does not smell of bleach. It smells of victory. I am sitting in the high back leather chair, the same chair Julian Vane used to mock the world from. The room is silent, a heavy, weighty silence that feels like a physical presence. The walls are lined with mahogany. The grain of the wood is deep and dark. It looks like frozen smoke. I can smell the history in this room. It is a mixture of old paper, cedar wood, and the faint, lingering scent of my father's tobacco. This is the founder's office. This is the throne Julian stole. And tonight, I have taken it back. I run my fingers over the edge of the desk. The surface is cold. It is a single slab of African mahogany. It is polished to a mirror finish. I can see my reflection in the wood. I do not see a janitor. I do not see a ghost. I see the sovereign air. The Archive 0 is humming softly in the corner. The blue light from the monitors washes over the room. It makes the shadows long and sharp. On the screens, the data is flowing perfectly. The Vane empire has been dismantled. The accounts have been moved. The digital identity of Julian Vane has been liquidated. I reach for the antique telephone on the desk. It is a heavy, black instrument. It feels like a relic from a more honest time. I pick up the receiver. The dial tone is a steady, comforting hum. I dial a number. It is a number that is not in any directory. It is the number for a burner phone I tucked into the pocket of a gray jumpsuit 3 hours ago. I wait. The sound of the ringing is sharp. It is lonely. I can imagine where that sound is going. It is traveling through the copper wires of the city. It is moving past the skyscrapers, past the luxury hotels, down into the East End to a park that the city forgot to light. 2 miles away, Julian Vane is sitting on a wooden bench. The wood is rotting. It is soaked with the cold. Slanting rain. He is huddled under a flickering street lamp. The light is a sickly, pale yellow. It makes his skin look like gray marble. He is wearing the uniform I gave him. The gray polyester is thin. It does not stop the wind. It does not stop the shame. He smells of wet wool and the stinging scent of lemon ammonia. The same scent that followed me for 10 years. Julian's hands are shaking. He reaches into his pocket. He pulls out the vibrating phone. He looks at the screen. There is no name, only a location. Vanguard Heights. Founder's office. He stares at the words. He looks up at the skyline. He can see the tower in the distance. It is dark, except for the top floor. The top floor is glowing like a beacon. He answers the phone. He does not speak. He cannot speak. His throat is tight with a mixture of rage and terror. I can hear his breathing. It is ragged. It is the sound of a man who is drowning on dry land. I speak. My voice is low. It is calm. It is a knife wrapped in silk. I ask him how the air is down there. I ask him if he can smell the rain. Julian gasps. He finally finds his voice. It is a broken, high-pitched rasp. He calls me a monster. He asks me how I could take everything. He says he had a life. He says he had a name. He tells me that he will find a way back. He says he has friends in high places. I laugh. The sound is short, just cold. I tell him that he has no friends. I tell him that the vultures have already divided his remains. I tell him that the board of directors has voted to erase his birth certificate from the company archives. I tell him that in the eyes of the law, he never existed. He is a ghost, a legal nullity. I tell him to look at his hands. I tell him to look at the dirt under his fingernails. That is his new reality. I tell him that the money was never his. It was a loan from a history he tried to burn. And the bank has called in the debt. Julian is sobbing now. It is a pathetic, wet sound that crackles through the phone. He asks me what he is supposed to do. He asks me where he is supposed to go. He says he has nothing. No house. No car. No identity. He is a man trapped in a gray jumpsuit in the middle of a storm. I lean back in the chair. I look at the photo of my father on the desk. He is smiling. The justice is complete. The cycle is closed. The janitor is the king. And the king is the trash. I tell Julian that I am a fair man. I tell him that I don't like to see a man without work. I tell him that there is a vacancy at Vanguard Heights. A position that requires no name, no history, no pride. I tell him that I left a mop in the lobby. The silence on the other end of the line is absolute. It is the silence of a man realizing his fate. I can hear the rain drumming against the park bench. I can hear the distant sound of a siren. I tell him that the marble floor is dirty. I tell him that the scotch he spilled is still sticky. I give him the final instruction, the words that will haunt him for the rest of his life. Don't be late for your shift. I hang up the phone. The click of the receiver is the loudest sound in the world. It is the sound of a door closing forever. I set the phone back on the cradle. I stand up. I walk to the floor-to-ceiling window. The city is laid out before me. It is a sea of lights, a sea of potential. The East End is quiet. The bulldozers are gone. The people are safe in their beds. They don't know about the war that was fought tonight. They don't know about the sovereign grant. They only know that the lights stayed on. I look down at the street. I see a small, gray figure walking toward the building. He is moving slowly. His head is down. He is carrying the weight of 1,000 sins. He reaches the service entrance. He hesitates. Then he pushes the door open. Julian Vane is entering the lobby. He is picking up the mop. He is starting the long, endless task of cleaning up his own life. He will scrub the floors until his hands are raw. He will polish the brass until his back breaks. He will be the ghost that I was. But as I watch him, I feel a chill in the room. The temperature drops 10 degrees in a single second. The lights in the office begin to pulse. Not blue, not red, but a deep violet purple. The archive zero screens begin to flicker with a new set of codes. Codes that were not written by my father. A message appears on the main monitor. It is written in a language I do not recognize. But I can feel the meaning. The debt is paid. The matriarch is waking. I turn around. The office door is open. Standing in the doorway is Elias Thorne, the 90-year-old lawyer. He is not leaning on his cane. He is standing tall. His eyes are no longer milky. They are bright. They are ancient. He is holding a heavy, black envelope. It is sealed with purple wax. He tells me that the revenge against the Vanes was merely the audition. He says that the sovereign grant was just the first layer of the true inheritance. He tells me that the real bank is not made of stone and glass. It is made of secrets and blood. He hands me the envelope. The paper is cold. It feels like ice. I break the seal. Inside is a single document. It is a will. The matriarch's will. It is dated 300 years ago. And the first name on the list of beneficiaries is mine. But the second name makes my heart stop. It is the name of the man currently mopping the floor 50 stories below. I ask him what this means. He smiles. It is a smile that has seen empires rise and fall. He tells me that the game is much bigger than a bank. He says that Julian Vane was never my enemy. He was my brother. The floor beneath me begins to vibrate. The building is not made of steel. It is a machine, a sovereign machine. And it has just been turned on.